From homeless to legend. The shocking truth about the man they mocked for food. In the heart of a bustling city, where the glimmer of skyscrapers met the shadowy corners of alleys, there was a man named Jack, once seen as nothing more than a blurred silhouette shamed by hunger. But what if I told you he was more than a forgotten soul? The whispers on the streets spoke of strange occurrences surrounding Jack. Hearing his name brought shivers, fueled by tales of miracles and madness. People claimed he could predict the rain just by looking at the clouds, or that he spoke to the pigeons perched on his tattered jacket, telling them secrets of the universe. Amid the chorus of city life, the jagged sounds of laughter pierced through when someone tossed him scraps. "Get a job, you bum," they yelled, their voices dripping with disdain. But Jack didn't respond. His eyes filled with stormy clouds of unspoken knowledge, silently reflecting a pain that echoed through his bones. There was something undeniably captivating about him, like a beacon in the fog. The way he'd brush crumbs off his knees, as if dusting off the weight of the world, felt almost poetic. Despite the mockery, the shadows held a different story. Every evening, as the sun bowed out and the neon lights flickered to life, Jack would sit on the corner of Fifth and Clay, watching a parade of people rush by. But it was always those same faces, those rude ones, who noticed him only for the hoarse plea for food. Little did they know that the man they laughed at held the keys to an extraordinary fate that could change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But one evening, as a storm brewed on the horizon, Jack's demeanor shifted. The constant murmurings grew louder. A sense of urgency gripped the air. He spoke softly to the pavement, his voice barely audible, yet it felt like somber music, resonating with an ancient truth. He pointed to the shadows dancing behind him, claiming that soon things would change. Those who overheard felt a chill run through them. Was he a prophet, or just another deluded man lost in hardship? The question lingered, unshakable. Secrets loomed large, ready to crack open the concrete. People could sense the charge in the atmosphere, thick as fog, pregnant with mystery. The night was far from over, and Jack's story was only just beginning. What would happen when the truth finally unveiled itself? The night felt different, charged like a live wire. Rain began to pour, turning the streets into slick mirrors reflecting the chaotic city above. Jack remained seated, his eyes glimmering as the raindrops danced around him. It was like he had become part of the storm, an enigmatic figure that compelled the world to stop and stare, if only for a moment. A small crowd gathered across the street, murmurs of apprehension cutting through the night. "What is he doing?" someone asked, their voice edged with skepticism. "Why is he pointing at shadows?" Laughter erupted, but it was half-hearted, taut with unease. People fidgeted, glancing at one another, unsure whether they should be entertained or frightened. Then, something unexpected happened. Out of the corner of Jack's eye, a large shadow flickered. His gaze sharpened, body tensing, a predator sensing prey. As the crowd leaned forward, Jack stood up, legs slightly trembling, but his presence somehow commanding. "They're coming," he said, his voice rising above the rhythmic drone of the rain. "You've mocked me, but you will witness a reckoning tonight." Confusion rippled through the onlookers. A woman near the front stepped closer, her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" she shouted. In response, Jack's face twisted into an unfathomable mix of fear and determination. Suddenly, the sky erupted. A flash of lightning split the heavens, followed by an ear-splitting crack of thunder, forcing people to shield their eyes. In that split second, everyone thought they saw the shadows moving, shimmering figures undulating at the edges of Jack's world. Fear buried deep made the crowd hold their breath. This wasn't the desperate ramblings of a man. This felt like something tangible, something real. The air grew still, hanging heavy. Jack extended a finger toward the shadows. "You laugh at the invisible, but I know what lies beneath your laughter," he hissed. "Tonight, the truth will be revealed." In that instant, the ground quaked, stirring an ancient fear in the hearts of the people surrounding him. Faces paled, expressions hardened with a mix of disbelief and terror. The storm intensified, sending sheets of rain cascading down. Jack's silhouette danced in the chaotic elegance of the downpour, a stark contrast against the frightened crowd. From the back, someone cried out, "We've got to run." But the mob couldn't move, transfixed as if ensnared by Jack's fervor. Without warning, a figure burst forth from the shadows, its form indistinct, yet clearly human. It wore a cloak of darkness, flickering like static on a broken screen. Gasps erupted. The figure moved slowly toward Jack, and with every cautious step, Jack's fervent gaze never wavered. "Who are you?" the cloaked figure whispered, voice like gravel scraping against asphalt. The crowd leaned in, captivated by the unfolding tableau. Jack breathed deeply, an ancient wisdom swelling within him. "You know who I am," he replied, his voice a mix of defiance and certainty, "and you know why I am here." A hush enveloped the street as the storm roared overhead, culminating in a final flash of blinding light. Then, everything shifted. What unearthly truth was set to unravel in the wet darkness? What would happen when the laughter stopped? Stay with me, because the night is far from over. The cloaked figure stopped only a few feet away from Jack, shrouded in shadows that twisted around it like smoke. The crowd's breath caught in their throats as flashes of lightning illuminated the stranger's features for split seconds. Urgent, determined eyes, an expression both fierce and sorrowful. Every heartbeat pulsed louder, drowning out the rain. "Why do you continue this?" The figure spat, the gravel voice layered with pain. "You stand alone, Jack. Do you not realize the darkness that follows you?" Jack stepped forward, rain cascading off him like a waterfall of glistening defiance. "What follows me? Fear? You misunderstand." He glanced toward the crowd, their faces watching with a blend of astonishment and budding dread. "What follows me is the truth. And tonight, that truth will rise." Lightning struck again, and a surge of energy crackled through the air. The crowd flinched collectively, yet remained rooted to the spot. A wave of terrified murmurs swept through them, as if they sensed something tremendous was about to unfold. The cloaked figure shook its head slowly. "You believe this? That they're here to witness your validation?" Every word punctured the air, demanding attention. "Your vigilante justice means nothing if they do not see what's within themselves." Jack clenched his fists, nostrils flaring. "What's inside them? Fear? Greed? You underestimate the strength of these people." He gestured dramatically toward the audience, desperate to ignite something within their hearts. "They suffer just as I do." Whispers grew louder, fingers pointing, and the onlookers, wild-eyed and segregated in their thoughts, began to shift uneasily. "Look at him!" one woman cried, her voice raw. "What does he want from us? Weren't you all just laughing?" Jack called, a wild energy pulsing in his voice. "Why do you hide your heads in embarrassment now? Tonight, you will see that you are not alone. You never were. I was never alone." A rippling pause hung heavy over the crowd as the cloaked figure straightened, revealing a face that felt both familiar and alien at once. "What you see is not a curse but a blessing. Embrace it." Before anyone could process the urgency, shadows began to gather from the edges, thickening into silhouettes that crawled toward the center. Gasps of realization sliced through the rain. They weren't mere shadows, but memories, fears, and regrets, each one pulling towards the surface like a magnet to steel. Suddenly, something broke, and a distant scream emerged from the swirling mass. "No! Get back! It's coming!" A man in the crowd stumbled backward, tears mingling with the rain on his cheeks, as the reality of their suppressed truth surged forth. "Jack, please! You must stop this!" A voice cut through the terror, someone pleading from the edge of the crowd. But Jack could only stare, mouth slightly agape. This was beyond him now. This was the reckoning that thrummed beneath the surface of every hidden soul. He felt alive, yet intertwined with the darkness that shook the street, pulling at every fiber of his being. As the shadows encroached closer, engulfing the figure before him, Jack felt an electric pulse surge through his chest, a tumult of hope and fear battling within. He looked toward the crowd, faces twisted in panic, and a question crystallized in his mind. "Are you ready to see what lies in the depths?" But before he could utter a word, the crowd erupted in chaos, some stumbling back, others screaming, and the storm roared with an all-consuming rage that echoed through the night. Jack suddenly understood the cost of this revelation. What kind of awakening had he set into motion? Was he prepared to face the truth that lay buried within himself, even if it threatened to tear everything apart? The storm only grew louder as the shadows closed in. The air thickened with electricity, every gasp from the crowd wrapping around Jack like the storm that pounded down upon them. A fury of emotion surged through him: fear, exhilaration, uncertainty. The shadows twisted and danced, pulling memories from the depths of those who stood before him. He could hear them: whispers of doubt, shouts of rage, and threads of pain unraveling into the night. "Jack!" a voice cried out, cutting through the cacophony. He turned to see Emily, her face pale and strained. "You can't just unleash this. You don't know what you'll awaken." But Jack, caught in a whirlwind of thoughts, barely acknowledged her. The very essence of the crowd shifted. They were not just observers anymore. They were participants in a horrific play. Memories clawed their way through the rain, ugly and raw, bursting forth just as the storm raged above. "Look inside!" The cloaked figure shouted again, its voice rising above the troubled din. "Let your past free. Only then will you find your strength." An agonized scream erupted from somewhere in the back, and the crowd recoiled. A woman fell to her knees, hands clutching her head. "It can't be! I buried it!" she wailed, her entire body shaking. The rain mingled with her tears, soaking into the earth beneath her. "Breathe it in," the figure continued, unwavering. "Only by confronting your darkness can you see the light." Jack felt his own heart racing. Each pulse matched the rhythm of the tumult rising around him. The shadows were becoming more vivid, drawing out whispers of silent sins as faces flashed before him, each one a fragmented portion of the crowd: betrayal, guilt, lost opportunities. They were all being pulled into this moment, and as he locked eyes with the cloaked figure, Jack realized what he needed to do. The struggle within himself mirrored the collective fight of the crowd. "Fear is a choice," Jack yelled, letting the words spill out despite the storm. "We can't shrink back. If we don't face what haunts us, it will consume us. Are we really going to stand by and let these shadows dictate our lives?" He saw a flicker of recognition in the eyes of a man standing with a child on his hip. Hesitation melted away, and instead, resolve ignited within the crowd. Jack was kindling anger, urgency, and above all, hope. With renewed determination, the man held the child tighter, facing the shadows. "You're right. I won't let this hold my son back. We will fight together." From that spark, a rage spread like wildfire through the crowd, voices melding into a chorus of defiance and acceptance. The shadows recoiled slightly, restless against the tide of awakening. Jack could feel the collective pulse of hearts, some still frightened, others burning with a newfound strength. Together, he shouted, his voice louder than the tempest above. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the ground. It felt as if the storm was reacting to their resolve. Tension crackled like static electricity, and lightning illuminated the darkness, revealing faces twisted in fear and determination. And then came the revelation. A surge of power coursed through Jack, a blinding light manifested from deep within the shadows. It forced the darkness back, revealing its secrets, its truths. He could see, he could understand. But in that moment of clarity, a sinister laugh echoed nearby, slicing through the cries of the crowd. "You think this is freedom? This is just the beginning." Jack's heart sank. Who was that? He felt the weight of uncertainty creeping in, threatening to unravel the burgeoning courage all around. "Don't listen," he yelled, desperation creeping back into his tone. "Stay strong." As the laughter faded, the shadows drew back, swirling and morphing around Jack like a tempest of broken dreams, and the horrifying face of someone familiar emerged among them, grinning in the chaos. "Who are you?" Jack cried out, an icy grip forming around his chest. In that moment, the rain intensified, pouring down like judgment from the heavens as Jack braced for what was to come. Why had he unleashed this power? What had he really awakened? And as the crowd rallied against the darkness, Jack understood one grim truth. The aftershocks of the storm had only just begun. The shadows thickened, swirling ominously around Jack as he stood face to face with the familiar figure. A chill raced down his spine. How could this be? Just as the darkness enveloped him, he recognized the face mark, his childhood friend, the one who had disappeared years ago without a trace. Mark? Jack's voice trembled, disbelief flooding his chest. The storm roared around them, but the wind carried hints of memories long buried. "You! It can't be you! What happened?" The grin on Mark's face widened unnaturally, eyes gleaming with a twisted joy that sent shivers through the crowd. "Oh, Jack! You always were the sentimental one." His laugh echoed like the howling wind, laced with malice. "You think confronting the past will give you power? Look around. This is just a game now." The crowd shivered, some stepping back, feelings of doubt creeping in once more, shadows clutching at their minds. Jack took a breath, pushing through the fear threatening to suffocate him. "No! We are more than our past. You don't control us." Mark tilts his head, the gesture mocking. "Aren't you feeling the weight? The pain, the guilt, the buried truths?" His voice dropped to a whisper, darker now. "You wanted answers. You wanted to set them free. But do you truly know what is waiting beneath? Are you ready for what you'll find?" The crowd stirred uneasily, whispers surfacing. Jack could feel them wavering. "We can't let him distract us," he shouted, rising above the din. "This isn't just about confronting our past. It's about reclaiming our future." A flicker of courage surged through the crowd as a woman stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "I won't let my shame hold me back. Mark, you don't scare me anymore." Others began to join, rekindling their resolve as they channeled the strength they'd buried for far too long. But Mark only laughed harder, a sound that felt like nails scraping down a chalkboard. "You think this is strength? This is chaos. Just look around you." As he spoke, the storm shifted, the rain now hammering against the ground like a judgment. Jack clenched his fists, battling a wave of emotions threatening to drown him. The shadows coiling around the crowd felt thicker, more alive, as if they were tasting the fear, feeding off it. "Enough!" Jack roared, his voice echoing through the maelstrom. "We will not be consumed. We will not back down." With that, a blinding light erupted from within him, amplified by the hearts around him. He felt it, the connection, every heart beating in sync, rising to meet the darkness. The shadows recoiled, losing their ferocity as light poured like a flood. He could see Mark falter, confusion flickering across his face. Together, The crowd began to chant, hands gripping one another tight, the energy flowing like electricity. The power surged through Jack, bursting towards the shadows, cleansing them. Mark's laughter faltered, replaced by a sneer. You think you can erase the past? Think again, Jack. This is only the beginning. Jack's heart raced. What had he really awakened? With Mark looming in the chaos, everything felt almost too close, too volatile. An icy grip tightened around him. Would they break through the shadows, or would Mark's warning bring everything crashing down? The storm raged on, swirling in anticipation, and the darkness twisted tighter. A new wave of dread washed over Jack. Could they truly hold on to their newfound strength, or would Mark's spectral grip pull them all down into the depths of despair? And just when Jack thought they might break free, a bone-chilling scream echoed through the night, cutting like a knife. He turned to see someone collapsing at the rear of the crowd. Who fell? What had he truly unleashed? The storm roared louder, blurred by the night, and as Jack rushed towards the fallen figure, he wondered if this was a fight they could win or if it was merely the prelude to their doom. Jack fought against the thrumming chaos, heart pounding as he sprinted towards the fallen figure. The crowd was in disarray, gasping and shouting, faces pale with fear. Rain whipped around them, driving like stinging needles. Get back, he shouted, pushing through the crowd. Let me through. Fearing the worst, Jack dropped to his knees beside the prone figure. A flash of lightning illuminated the face, and his gut twisted. It was Sarah, the woman who had stepped forward with fierce determination. She lay motionless, her eyes staring blankly into the turbulent sky. Sarah, speak to me. Jack's voice cracked, desperation clawing at his throat. He could hear whispering from the crowd, the panic weaving thick strands of doubt. Is she dead? Someone murmured. No, no. Jack shook his head, scrambling to check her pulse, feeling the vulnerability of her body beneath the weight of darkness pressing in. Please don't leave us. But as he leaned closer, her lips parted, a shudder escaping as if she was fighting for air. Jack, the shadows, they took me. They're stronger than we thought. What do you mean? Jack's voice was frantic. The shadowy tendrils loomed ominously, creeping closer to him. Riddled with fear, he glanced at Mark, whose expression flickered with contempt and triumph. Mark stood taller, almost elevated by the rising storm. This is the cost of forgetting who we are, Jack. The shadows are hungry, and they've tasted her fear. Jack clenched his fists, the surge of anger coursing through him. He could feel Sarah's life slipping away like grains of sand through shaky fingers. No! We will not lose anyone else. We are fighting for our lives. For her life. He could see the flicker in Sarah's eyes begin to fade, her connection to the world pulling away, tethered to the overwhelming dread around them. His heart sank. They needed her strength now more than ever, not to lose it to Mark's twisted games. The crowd was restless, glancing from Jack to Sarah, voices rising again. Some murmured claims of betrayal, others of hopelessness. I don't think we can do this, said a shaky voice near the edge. Don't say that, Jack shouted, fighting to hold onto the light gathering among them. Sarah needs us. We need to stand together right now. He gripped her hand tightly, drawing from her warmth to find his. Drawing on the others, who were willing to dig deep for strength. Remember every time you felt strong, every moment of love that held you up. Channel it now. Let it burst forth. They began to chant, a low rumble building in intensity. Jack felt the heat of their gathering energy, illuminated by hope, overwhelming the darkness, inching closer. But then Mark's voice, sharp and slicing as the wind, screamed, You think your memories can banish me? I've lived in the shadows too long. Your past doesn't scare me, it feeds me. Jack's resolve flickered like the waning light. As if sensing his hesitation, Mark's laughter echoed through the chaos, thrumming a sickening beat. Sarah stirred, her voice a mere whisper between moments of strength and despair. "Jack, don't lose," but suddenly darkness surged forward, tendrils reaching out hungrily. The crowd gasped, fear spreading like wildfire. Jack felt the energy pulsing through him flicker, like a candle in a storm. "I won't let you take her," he roared. The light within him flared brighter, pushing back the darkness, but it felt weak against this tide. Marked by fear and memories, Jack defiantly raised his voice. "This is our choice. We will not let fear control us." As he shouted, the shadows writhed and twisted, almost sensing a fissure in his courage. But there was something deeper stirring. Would they succumb, or could they embrace the chaos and answer its call? Just then, a blinding flash lit up the night, forcing everyone but Mark to shield their eyes. Jack's heart raced. What was happening? Had they finally unleashed something far more powerful than they ever anticipated? And then came another scream, the haunting sound of despair that sent shivers down their spines. The moment caught in a web of fear, Jack's heart dropped. Was this the end, or just the beginning of their nightmare? The blinding flash faded, but its heat lingered as the crowd blinked against the afterglow. Jack felt a shift around him, the energy he had summoned now hanging in the air like a fragile web, tightly woven yet dangerously thin. The screaming shattered the moment, raw and guttural, pulling everyone's focus back to Sarah. "Jack!" she gasped, her breath a rattling whisper. Her fingers twitched slightly in response to his grip, igniting a flicker of hope within him, but it was drowned by the tension building in the air. What had that flash meant? It wasn't just a burst of light. It felt like something had broken loose, an ancient barrier that kept greater horrors at bay. Jack's mind raced. "Is it over?" A voice in the crowd trembled, uncertainty coating every syllable. No, Mark beamed, reveling in the fear swirling around him. "It's only just begun. You've opened the door at 1T, just close again." Jack's heart hammered, the words echoing in his ears like a death knell. He shoved against the rising tide of panic, but dread had tightened its grip. The shadows quivered, drawn to the raw despair that festered in the air. Sarah's eyes fluttered, trying to focus on Jack. "We have to," her voice faltered, each word a struggle against the encroaching darkness. "We have to stand together, but he is too strong." "No!" Jack shouted, shaking her gently. "You have to fight. We all do." He turned to the crowd, searching for any flicker of resolve. "We are stronger together. Don't let him win." Eyes widened in the crowd. Some nodded, but others wavered, torn between Jack's desperate pleas and Mark's dark allure. Whispers of doubt crept among them. "He is right, we opened something we can't close," one man said, beads of sweat forming at his brow. Jack's throat was tight with fear, but he forged ahead. "Do you really think they'll just take our fear without a fight? We can't give in now." But as he spoke, Mark's laughter cut through the air, gleeful and rich, shaking the crowd's confidence. "Fight if you want. It only makes the feast more delightful." The shadows pulsed, an almost sentient force rising in defensive readiness. Nearby, Jack could see an elderly woman clutching her child, fear etching deep lines into her face. Both were frozen in terror. "Look at us!" Jack commanded, meeting their eyes, willing them to remember their strength. "We've survived together before. We've faced tougher storms." The crowd shifted, voices rising in anger against Mark, but the shadows twisted closer, pulling them back into despair. Jack could feel the swell of darkness pressing against him, gnawing at his resolve. Suddenly, Sarah's voice broke through the tempest. It was softer now, barely audible but steadier. "Jack, the light, it never leaves us." His gaze shot back to her. "What do you mean?" "The light from every moment that matters. It's in us, we need to ignite it." Jack took a deep breath and started chanting, driven by desperation, pulling from every ounce of energy within him. He called on their shared memories, their laughter, the moments that bound them together. Slowly, others began to join in, their voices harmonizing, crisp against the chilling shadows that swirled and hissed. As they chanted louder, the shadows recoiled, but Mark stood unfazed, eyes glinting with malignant pleasure. "You really think you can overpower the darkness with memories?" he sneered. But then Jack felt it, a pulse, a flicker igniting among the crowd. Their memories, their hopes began to swirl into a bright light, pushing back the darkness inch by inch. Yet in the chaos of their emerging strength, the ground trembled, sending shockwaves through the people. "Hold on! It's now or never!" Jack yelled, fear clenching at his heart, unsure if they could withstand the storm brewing ahead. A figure materialized behind Mark, ancient and powerful, as fragmentary whispers echoed through the air, and a voice spoke, resonant and deep. "You have awakened what should have remained asleep. What had they truly unleashed? And could they muster the strength to face whatever monster had been lurking in the shadows all along?" The air crackled with tension as the shadowy figure loomed behind Mark, a grotesque distortion of what a human should be. It neither breathed nor moved with intent, yet it radiated a chilling presence that dug deep into the minds of those gathered. Jack felt their collective heartbeat quicken, fear rippling across the crowd like a dark wave. "What have you done?" Jack shouted at Mark, his voice trembling. "You've called this thing into our world." Mark's smile deepened, a twisted grin that sparked anger within Jack. "I've merely opened the door. They've always been here, just waiting for you to invite them back." He laughed, the sound curling around them like mist, both taunting and merciless. Sarah struggled to sit up, pain weaving through her limbs. "Jack, remember the light," she urged, her voice barely cutting through the growing chaos. "It's everything we hold dear." The crowd surged around them, voices overlapping in a cacophony of panic and defiance. Jack closed his eyes, letting the echoes of their moments wash over him. The laughter of children playing, the warmth of shared meals under twilight skies, the comfort of soft words whispered in the dark, everything he had hoped for flickered like a dying ember. Pushing the despair away, he opened his eyes, and a newfound determination illuminated his gaze. "We can turn this around," he shouted, his voice steady against the backdrop of fear. "Together, we are the light." He reached for Sarah, squeezing her hand with all the strength he could muster. "Can you stand?" With a deep breath, she nodded, pain wrinkling her brow. They both faced the crowd, their connection igniting hope within the others. "Breathe in all that has mattered," Jack called out, his heart hammering in unison with the others. "Let it fuel you." One by one, the faces of the crowd began to change, stark terror melting away into determination. "We need to stand together," Jack continued, rallying them. "Let us reclaim our memories, our strength. He is just a ghost hiding in the shadows." Yet, from the depths of the emerging confrontations, the shadow behind Mark stirred. It manifested into scattered wisps, muttering darkly. "They think they can fight me, fools," a voice echoed, slithering through the air like smoke. Mark thrust his hands outward, and from beneath him, the ground trembled violently, fissures opening wide, seemingly devouring the remaining fractures of hope. "No! You will not push me back," he yelled, the shadows twisting and rearing like beasts ready to devour the light. Jack's heart pounded fiercely, as the ground beneath him shook violently. He stumbled but tightened his grip on Sarah's hand. "Hold on, we must chant," he called, his voice straining against the storm of chaos. "Together." With the crowd responding, he and Sarah raised their intertwined hands toward the sky, inviting the warmth of their memories to burst forth once again. The shadows writhed as the light rekindled, brightening around each person, gilded flames igniting in their resolve. "Now!" Jack shouted, "Let it shine." In an instant, their voices rose in unison, piercing through Mark's echoes of darkness. "We want to be consumed. We are stronger than you." For a moment, it felt as if the very air around them split, a blinding luminosity pushing against the shadows. But just as hope surged, so did a deeper, more sinister laugh from Mark. "Fools," he murmured, "you think you can resist what has always craved your despair?" Suddenly, laughter rose uncontrollably from all corners of the crowd, a chilling response that seemed almost unearthly. Shadows trembled, vibrating in unison with the maddening echoes, and Jack felt the dread creep back as the light flickered, and the laughter melded with cries of panic. They realized the battle was just beginning, and the dark entity they had awakened was far from done. With a surge of dread, a chilling thought raced through Jack's mind. What if this was only the beginning of a nightmare without end? As reality began to warp, Jack felt the ground beneath him scream. Would they be able to hold the darkness at bay? The question loomed, heavy and terrifying, as shadows danced hungrily at the edge of their flickering light. As the shadows writhed, Jack's heart thumped like a drum in his chest. The flickering light around them began to dim, dimming the very hope they had fought so hard to grasp. Faces twisted with fear. The crowd around him was no longer a unified force, it was fracturing, people glancing anxiously at each other, unsure of what to trust. "Stay together," Jack shouted, though the urgency threatened to strangle his words. He felt the weight of fear creeping back in, wrapping around him like a thick fog. He had to act fast. Mark's laughter intensified, now accompanied by shrieks from the dark entity that writhed behind him. The inky blackness seemed to pulse, reflecting a hunger that went beyond physical. "You think you can recall your laughter?" Mark mocked, his voice growling. "These shadows crave your doubts, your fears, they'll feed on them." Sarah's grip on Jack tightened, her eyes wide as they locked with his. "We need something stronger," she gasped. "We need to remember together. One thought, one feeling. It has to be more powerful than fear." Jack nodded, understanding flickering in his mind. The memories of what he loved, his family, sunny days spent at the park, the warmth after a long day wrapped in a blanket, those were the thoughts that could spark a flame against this darkness. "Close your eyes. Think of the strongest memory." He focused, battling through the fear, urging the crowd to do the same. "Think of love, of joy, of togetherness." Slowly, one by one, he could see faces around him reacting. Eyes closed, shoulders relaxed. They were digging into the depths of their minds, pulling forth those moments that felt safe, even if just for a heartbeat. The fear faded just enough to let memories flicker like stars igniting a dark sky. "Let it fill you," Jack shouted, feeling a pulse of energy in his veins. "Send it out." The chorus of memories grew, turning into soft whispers of hope that gradually swelled into a powerful chant. They were not just fighting back now. They were pushing the shadows back, reclaiming their world. But Mark erupted into a fit of rage, his twisted face contorting with fury. "No! You can't! I'll show you despair." His hands rose high, tearing into the very fabric of their memories. Shadows lashed out, tendrils snaking toward the crowd, weaving through the cracks of hope they had built. "Don't look!" Sarah screamed, her voice piercing through the chaos. "Focus on the light." With a surge of collective will, the crowd marked the boundary between darkness and light. Their voices roared forward, drowning out the shadows that clawed in desperation. And then, it happened. A blinding light erupted from the center of their circle, a starburst of shared memories igniting into a radiant force. Tendrils of shadow withdrew, shrieking as the warmth enveloped them, forcing Mark back. But amidst the chaos, a soft flicker caught Jack's eye. Something was moving in the darkness, slinking along the periphery of the light. It was another figure, smaller and quick, something familiar. In the chaos, it whispered something indecipherable yet haunting. The crowd kept chanting, unaware of the growing tension. Jack's pulse quickened, blurring the lines between triumph and fear. What was happening in the shadows? Could it be a savior, or a new threat altogether? He turned back to Sarah, but the moment felt suspended, a deep hiss resonating from the shape edging closer. Jack's chest tightened again, and he felt the hope wane as curiosity took hold. What new darkness lurked just beyond their reach? As the chants echoed louder, the shadows trembled, and the figure crept closer, revealing its face an unsettling mix of familiarity and horror. What if this was their worst fear come to life? Jack's heart raced as the figure moved closer, shadows twisting around it like a serpent. It emerged from the darkness, its features flickering in and out of focus, as if the storm above was playing tricks on his eyes. And then it hit him, the face held the form of someone he longed to forget, but also desperately wanted to remember: his sister, Lily. The crowd as chanting faded momentarily, disbelief coursing through them. Whispers spread like wildfire, eyes darting between the menacing shadows, and Jack's stunned expression. "This isn't real," someone shouted. "You can't be real." But Jack knew. There was a haunting familiarity in her gaze, a mix of longing and pain that dripped through the air. "Lily," Jack gasped, stepping forward, longing to bridge the chasm of their past. "Is it really you?" The figure hesitated, a flicker of hesitation in its movements. "You called me back, Jack." The voice was soft but tinged with sorrow. "You wanted to confront the past. Here I am." Images of laughter and shared secrets flooded Jack's mind, the sweetness of innocence now tainted by insidious darkness. "But you're gone. You can't be here." He felt the world tilt, the balance of hope struggling against the weight of grief. "I was lost in the shadows, Jack, just like you," she whispered, shadows curling around her like jealous tendrils. "But you need me. You need to accept what was, to fight for what will be." Jack shook his head, the fear of her presence an anchor. "No, you're wrong. I can't lose anyone else." Mark grinned, relishing this moment. How deliciously tragic. "Jack, are you prepared to sacrifice your memories for the truth?" "Stop it!" Jack shouted, his voice rising over the din, the anger propelling him forward. Desperation fueled every step. "Lily, I will not let the shadows take you again." "Jack, stop!" Lily's voice cracked. "To move forward, you must face the light with the darkness. All of us." A shiver ran through the crowd, every person gripped by Jack's turbulent emotions. They had all lost something. How were they meant to rise if they couldn't accept their own truth? Tendrils of darkness twisted, ready to strike. "You can never have both." Mark cackled, relishing the chaos. "It's time to make a choice." Jack felt the tension in the air thicken. "You're wrong," he called, louder than ever, the surety breaking free from his chest. "We embrace all of it. Our memories, our pain, our love. That's where our strength lies." With a deep breath, he turned back to the crowd. "Remember the warmth of holding someone you love. Remember the joy that entered your life, however momentary it was. Those are the fires that will ignite our strength." He felt them respond, a current of energy shifting through the masses. Faces that were once fearful transformed into determined warriors against the shadows. They weren't just faces in the dark. They were people ready to take back their stories, their truths. Together, Jack roared, and a wave of light erupted from their hearts, overwhelming the shadows. Lily's silhouette grew sharp, the shadows pulling away as if scorched by the light. "Yes, Jack. Embrace me, embrace all of it." With the fire of their memories igniting the night, the crowd surged ahead, chanting louder, their collective strength pushing against Mark's forces. But even as the shadows recoiled, they could still feel the remnants of fear lingering, desperately feeding on hesitation. Jack gripped Sarah's hand tight. "We have to keep moving forward. If we let doubt in, they'll overwhelm us again." And so they pressed forward, faces aglow with hope, courage shining bright against the encroaching dark. The shadows, ravaged by their emotional defiance, twisted and lunged but faltered against the collective light emanating from Jack and the crowd. But Mark's twisted laughter echoed, a sinister melody threading through the chaos. "This isn't the end, Jack. You know the truth will always haunt you." "Let it haunt me!" Jack shouted. "That truth is mine to bear, and I refuse to hide." The light blazed brighter, a beacon against Mark, forcing the shadows to disperse. Jack could sense Lily smiling through the light's warmth, and he knew that this battle was one of acceptance, not denial. And as the blinding illumination scattered the remaining darkness, the storm above began to clear. Light began to pour forth across the street, and the silhouettes of Mark and the shadows began to dissipate, swallowed by the rising dawn. The crowd, united in spirit, emerged from the night, drenched but resurrected, faces painted with triumph. They were no longer just onlookers. They were survivors, reclaiming their stories, and facing their truths together. And as morning's first rays basked the city, Jack caught a glimpse of Lily's form slowly dissolving with the light. "You got this, Jack." Her voice was a whisper, echoing through his heart. "Remember, fear is only a shadow, as long as you carry the light within." Jack blinked against the dawn, his heart swelling with unyielding love. He had faced the shadows, and through the confrontation, he discovered a truth deeper than fear. He was just Jack, the homeless man. He was Jack, a legend rising from the ashes of despair. With a deep breath, he turned to the crowd, camaraderie lighting their souls. "Let us move forward together. Shine bright, no matter how dark the night may be." And as they stepped into the light, a wave of exhilaration surged through them. Together, they were unstoppable. As you close the chapter on this story, remember the struggles of Jack and his journey, because it's in facing the shadows that we find our true selves. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.